In just a few minutes, you'll learn what's happening in the world of satellite TV. Stay tuned. Good evening. Welcome to Satellite Showtime. I'm Pat Olson. This program is brought to you by our fine corporate sponsors, including Luxor North America and Caltronics Incorporated. In the news tonight, space is again taking action against HBO's scrambling. Last week, we mentioned HBO is now test scrambling up to 17 or 18 hours a day. Well, Space has sent a letter to HBO Chief Executive Officer Michael Fuchs about the number of hours it is scrambling, calling on HBO to stop scrambling until enough people have decoders to descramble the programming. Peter Sutro is leading a campaign to call HBO by phone and complain about the scrambling. Sutro is president of MPI Satellites, which is based in New Jersey, and I had the chance to speak with him on the phone.
I think that the only excuse that HBO is using for their continued scrambling is that they're testing the head-end decoders at the cable systems. Now, they've been doing this for 4 months, and they have announced on many, many occasions that the MACOM video cipher encryption devices are operating beyond their wildest expectations. Therefore, we can't, for the life of us, understand why there's any need on HBO's part for further testing.
We at Satellite Showtime called HBO, and spokesperson Lynn Herlinger said HBO still has more testing to do, and that's why it's scrambling. HBO says decoders are starting to be produced. Peter Sutro says he thinks everyone should call HBO Chief Executive Officer Michael Fuchs directly to complain about the scrambling. Michael Fuchs' number is 212-512-1364. That's 212-512-1364. 212-512-1364. And if you can't reach him directly, HBO's general number is 212-512-1000. 212-512-1000.
And in fact, if you feel strongly about it, I would make your call collect. They may refuse a collect call, but that will certainly take a little time of their phone operator's time.
There's talk among industry people tonight that a group of 3 programmers is going to gather together, scramble, and package their programming. That group reportedly is Turner Broadcasting, MTV, and ESPN. As you may remember, 2 of those programmers recently said they would charge a fee for their unscrambled signal. They were ESPN and CNN. CNN is owned by Turner Broadcasting. When Satellite Showtime called Turner Broadcasting to ask if it were true about the scrambled package plan, its office had no comment, but it said it would be in more of a position to talk in late September. We also called the other programmers. ESPN just said no comment. Last week, you may remember we told you the USA Network was planning to charge a fee for its unscrambled signal, just as CNN and ESPN had said they would do earlier. Well, this week we know that plan may not be as legal as the programmers thought. Senator Albert Gore co-sponsored the Cable Communications Act of 1984, and he says the act does not support the programmers' decision to charge a fee. Gore says the programmers made their marketing decisions without first trying good faith marketplace negotiations, which he said the bill required. Therefore, Gore says the marketing systems are invalid and have no effect. Space backs Gore's statements. In fact, Space attorney Fred Finn says the group will defend anyone who receives ESPN, CNN, or USA Network without paying a fee. And Space has taken out an ad saying so. Coming up on Satellite Showtime, Mike Gustafson changes directions in his weekly segment, and we'll give you more satellite industry news. Stay tuned.
Luxor, space-age technology at an affordable price. Satellite receivers, antenna actuators, remote controls, and auxiliary sensors, all by Luxor. Here's a totally integrated satellite television reception system. The Luxor 9550 remote controlled satellite receiver. 24 channels, selected, fine-tuned, programmed for automatic recall. 4 different audio systems, built-in RF modulator, automatic polarization, 2-speed scan, video inversion control, AFC defeat, and Dolby noise reduction, and more. The Luxor 9534 antenna actuator, automatic satellite selection by remote control, all at the touch of a button, remarkable ease and accuracy. And the Luxor Mark II, a high-performance block satellite television receiver system, several sets, each having their own independent channel selection at the same time from a single antenna. That's the Mark II. Just a few of the high-performance, technically advanced satellite products from Luxor.
The Trans 10 by Qualtronics. This eye-appealing transparent antenna has passed the stringent test of the McDonnell Douglas Corporation. It's approved for 2-degree spacing. In the words of McDonnell Douglas, the performance of the Trans 10 is equal to or greater than that of other antennas of similar size and construction. Not only does the Trans 10 perform, it's also covered by a 5-year limited warranty, and it's easy to look at. Its baked acrylic thermoset black finish gives it a low luster appeal. Yes, the Trans 10 is also built for strength. The patented rib design assures maximum reflector signal and better retention of panels in high wind areas. Independent tests have indicated that the Trans 10 will withstand wind velocities up to 90 miles per hour. The Trans 10 by Qualtronics, high in performance and strength, UPS shippable anywhere in the United States, an antenna for every season.
Satellite TV Preview is the best thing next to your satellite dish. With all those programs now at your fingertips, you won't want to miss a thing. Satellite Preview lists over 100 transponders in an easy-to-read weekly grid schedule. It has a daily list of movies, specials, and sports, plus a list of sports by event. Call and subscribe now for only $39.95 for 52 issues and save $38 off the newsstand price. Or call for a free sample copy. Dealers, we also have a special offer for you. Call now 1-800-826-0735. Visa and MasterCard accepted. Satellite TV Preview, the best thing next to television.
Welcome back to Satellite Showtime. Congress is in summer recess right now, but that doesn't mean you should stop your letters to your U.S. representatives. You are still encouraged to write to them to support bills H.R. 1769 and H.R. 1840. H.R. 1769 calls for a 2-year moratorium on scrambling, and H.R. 1840 calls for a fair marketing plan for scrambled programming. Space says writing to your U.S. representative is an important thing to do for the future of our home satellite industry. A handwritten note is recommended. It will be at least a month before the FCC makes a decision that could affect all of us, a decision about zoning. The FCC is expected to approve a proposal that would preempt local zoning ordinances in cases where the zoning is overly restrictive. We'll get to tonight's question of the week in just a moment, but first, and she said she'd like to have a company donate a grant to the cause.
Just think, all over the world, people would be able to hear the reading of Satellite Guide. No more would there be the need to try to hunt someone down who can read the small print, or to try to strain with a magnifying glass or with an opticon or with a versobrailer or any other kind of equipment.
I asked Ruth how many blind people have home satellite systems.
Pat, to the best of my knowledge, there are now approximately 15 to 20 people out here who own satellite dishes. But I have been assured by at least 10 distributors that more and more blind people are coming on the horizon, especially as they learn from the people who already own dishes about the system and what it has to offer.
You can offer your help to us tonight. To help Ruth find out how many totally blind people have home satellite systems, we're asking you to call us tonight on a special number if you are blind. Call us at this special number, 800-826-5285. That number again is 800-826-5285. If you call tonight, you'll show your support for Ruth's effort of getting a service to read programming guides to you. Again, that number, 800-826-5285. We want to find out how many blind people have home satellite earth stations. We appreciate your calls. What does technician Mike Gustafson have up his sleeve this evening? Nothing less than his first product review. Here's Mike.
Hello again and welcome. Today we're going to be doing our first product review of the season, and I've chosen as my first product review a very, very specialized product. In fact, there's only one game in town, and that's this one. This is called the KTI49 antenna. It's a portable antenna designed by Robert Lulai. For the folks that have been in the industry for a few years, you'll recognize it as the Lulai umbrella antenna. This thing I'm holding under my left hand is a 9-foot antenna. It collapses and folds up, and this is its mount. It completely collapses down to one single piece that can be carried under your arm. The parts on the ground are the subreflector, because this is a Cassegrainian splash plate type of design, and the LNA attachment. Now I'm going to be assembling this, and we will be looking at some of the things that we're going to have to do to modify this to make it play the absolute best, but also I want to demonstrate how easy it is to use. As you can see, this is a 9-foot antenna set up and carrying in one hand. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put the subreflector in place. And there's a little waveguide tube that you'll have to trust me for, and you'll see a little later, that we're going to set this down on inside. Okay. Now that that's done, real easy and real lightweight to lift. Set it down on its mount. You can hold it with one hand. Put in one bolt. And one's in. It'll still fall, so you got to be careful with it. Put in the other bolt. These two hold the antenna onto the mount. They're also part of the declination because this is a polar mount. At this point, we need the wrench that's in my back pocket to center it up and tighten it up. There. Now it's pretty much self-supporting at this point. Come around here and we'll catch this side. Good. We just want to make sure that's nice and tight. Now a couple of points before I go any further. When you first get this product, as it's shipped, it's made in Korea, and there's a couple of things that not quite been done correctly. First off, this particular bolt is shipped loose, and you just want to make sure it's back off the nut, tighten it up just a little bit, just finger tight, tighten the set screw back down again. Also make sure that this bolt is tight and this bolt is tight, because together they make up the total support structure, and we've had a few cases of them falling over. Also, if you're going to use this antenna in a fixed installation, there were really two purposes for this antenna. One is site surveys, terrestrial interference investigation. The other use is recreational vehicles when you might be traveling. There is a part that you don't see. This is what's called a stabilizer hub or stabilizer ring. It's designed to fit up around the antenna and provide support in windy days. But if you're just using it as a site survey demonstration terrestrial interference antenna, I suggest you leave this at home. It's more trouble than it's worth. But if you are going to put it up as your unit you're going to use for a couple of hours or a day, you need the stabilizer ring to work properly. Okay, so we're at a point now where we can start to unfurl the antenna. Now, there's a couple of things to be concerned with. We're just going to first start to unfold a little bit. Now we want to walk around the front and take a look at it. We're going to be looking at some of the wires. There's a lot of wires that you may or may not be able to see that are running from the ends. You can see one right here as an example. We want to make sure that these wires are not wrapped around the center waveguide piece. Also, we look at there's a hub wire or a perimeter wire that runs all the way around the outside edge. We want to make sure that in no case is the wire wrapped around itself, around the hub like that. We want to have it straight on. Okay, we've made sure that it's correct. We've got all the wires where we want them. There's not going to be any interference. So we'll move it back out of our way. Come around behind it. Now, best way I found to do this is just pull against yourself. We have here a little clamps that make the life a little bit easier for us. We pull down. Now, one last inspection. It looks good. And we just pull. There. Now let's come back around. Let's take a look at it. Give you some idea what the antenna looks like. Looks good. None of the wires are crossed up. Looks nice and healthy. Subreflector. The actual way this antenna works is this is a particular material that has reflective material inside it. The energy reflects off the antenna, is focused up to that plate. The plate bounces it back down the waveguide. That long tube is the waveguide. That's called a splash plate reflector, splash plate design. So let's put it on the air now. Okay. First thing we do is we have ourselves, oh yes, one little point I want to make sure that you note. As these things are shipped from the factory, this length of this threaded screw is too long. We want to shorten it up a little bit. It's an adjustment. You're going to do the nuts and just adjust them back up tight. Keep both sides, there's two sides here, keep them both the same length and straighten them, or shorten them up to where you can measure from inside of that plate to the inside of this plate, and it should be 8 1/8. 8 inches and 1/8 inch. So that dimension inside the inside should be 8 1/8 when these are fully compressed. Alright, so just make sure that as they're shipped from the factory, it does not pull far enough, therefore the curve is wrong and the antenna does not perform. If you have one of these antennas and it's not performing to your expectations, that's probably the problem, so you should check that. Okay, let's go ahead and hook it up. This is the waveguide. It hooks onto it. And we're going to tighten it up. It just screws on, just has a couple of pipe clamps. Polarization is affected by just rotating it. It's not very complicated, very straightforward, easy to use. That's designed to be quick and dirty up and down. Okay. Now we're just about ready to put this little guy on the air. And we have here a little portable test set, invaluable for these sorts of things. And my magic cable. It's magic in that it's not broken. Hook it up. And if I've done this right, we should have a signal someplace. All right. A little bit of fine tuning. And this is the elevation adjust. And we're looking for a little signal here. And there we are. Fine tune it. Up and down. And there we have. You'll have to take my word for it that it's a good looking picture, but it's an excellent picture. It's a 9-foot dish after all. We are in a pretty good footprint area, but you can hear the audio. So that quick. We didn't sandbag anything, we just set it up. Obviously I've used this antenna many times. The antenna was originally designed by Robert Lulai back in about 1980, and he had a 12-foot version of this. And I've had a 12-foot version for many years, so I know how these antennas work. So a little intuitive knowledge there. So, as you can see, it's a very portable, very easy to use antenna. If you want to change polarizations, we just rotate, and we go, and there it is. And there's the other polarization. It's great for terrestrial interference suppression, for demoing on the customer's site, of finding that one location on the customer's site that catches all the satellites, but yet is hidden from their view or whatever the criteria is. And this is the only antenna I know that can do that. All other antennas are the mesh dishes and one-piece antennas, and you can't carry them around too easy. This is a simple little antenna to carry. The mesh is a fabric. It's fairly strong, although you wouldn't want to beat it up. You can repair it with a needle and thread like anything else. It's made of fabric. And it's good for, they say, 5 years out in the weather, so the weather and rain shouldn't bother it too much, although I certainly wouldn't leave it out in the rain. We did test this antenna for gain, for carrier-to-noise ratio, G over T, and what we found is that the antenna efficiency, the aperture efficiency, how well is it working, is 58%. The carrier-to-noise ratio, averaged over SATCOM3, we use SATCOM3 as our satellite, was 9 dB. And I'll show you a data sheet that shows all this data at this time. Here's the test data results of the Lulai Tokay TA900 portable antenna. It's a 9-foot dish with a F over D of 0.45. The gain at, let's say, 3.9 was 38.7 dBi, 4.2 or 39.3 dBi. A good gain for this size antenna. Aperture efficiency, as I mentioned before, is 58%. We consider 55 the really minimum acceptable, so this antenna is a cut above the average. Antenna noise, in other words, how noisy is the antenna by itself inherently, at a greater than 45-degree look angle, which means up off the satellite arc, is 80 degrees K. That's rather high, and the reason it is because of the splash plate design. It's picking up an awful lot of earth noise from around the sides of the antenna. But considering the design, it's the nature of the beast. We have to live with it. The G over T, the gain over temperature at 4.2 gigahertz, is 17.4 dB per degree K. And that's computed at 4.2 gigahertz and using a 75-degree LNA. This is a very respectable G over T and nothing to be ashamed of. And the average C over N for this antenna was 9.0 dB. That's where we took all the transponders on SATCOM3, measured the C over N, then averaged them. So 9 is a nice, respectable level, CON, to come into it. I didn't bother to measure any of the beam widths because this particular antenna, because of its splash plate design, is going to have high side lobes. But in its configuration, it's what we would expect. And we're not going to be using this in permanent installation, so we're not too concerned about 2-degree spacing and what have you. It's an excellent antenna, once again, for portable use, for terrestrial interference investigation. When I go on top of a 12-story building in San Francisco, I carry this Lulai antenna with me. And it's the only thing that'll fit in elevator wells and out the tops of tall buildings, so it's great. And the only thing you have to be concerned of when you get on top of a tall building, it may be a meshed style antenna, it still has a lot of wind loading, so be careful. So anyway, once again, the Toki TA900 portable antenna, I'd certainly recommend it for your purchase. Good day.
Coming up on Satellite Showtime, Bob Cooper talks with Maycom's Jim Bunker, and you'll see a preview of the Nashville Space STTI show. Stay tuned.
It's time for the NFL. A great 85 season is upon us, and your satellite system will be scanning the skies for the best and the brightest of pro football's exciting season. And Channel Guide presents our free NFL satellite football poster with all 16 weeks of games and playoffs, too. For your free poster, call 800-654-3006 weekdays, helping you enjoy the fun of your system from Channel Guide. Call tomorrow while supply lasts.
Welcome to the world of satellite TV opportunities, the marketing techniques magazine for satellite television that reviews the latest technology and introduces you to people you should know.
Satellite TV Opportunities is the marketing techniques magazine for satellite TV dealers. Our single purpose is to help dealers increase their sales and their profits through improved marketing techniques.
Call today for your subscription to success, 1-800-922-2812, Satellite TV Opportunities magazine.
Welcome back to Satellite Showtime. In less than 2 weeks is the Space STTI show in Nashville, Tennessee, September 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. It will be the third trade show held at the world-renowned Opryland Hotel in Nashville. The attendance fee for the show is $40, and if you want to bring a spouse, you'll be charged an extra $5. Children under 18 are admitted free. There will be special discounts for people who pre-register and for Space Dealer members. For information, you can call one of these two numbers. For those of you in the U.S. but not in Oklahoma, 800-654-9276. 800-654-9276. For those of you outside the U.S. and in Oklahoma, you can call 405-396-2574. 405-396-2574. Rick Schneringer of STTI talked about the Nashville show at the Tulsa show in June.
The third year that we've been in Nashville, a very popular place with our people, and it'll probably be one of the largest shows we've ever had.
Now we are going to show you why Nashville is such a good spot for a trade show. What you are about to see is a videotape of the city furnished by the Nashville Area Chamber of Commerce and produced by Julian Cole Productions.
Howdy! I'm just so proud to be here. You know, I've been greeting audiences with those words for many years now. A lot of them from the stage, right here in this old Ryman Auditorium, where the Grand Ole Opry was held for so many years, where people who love country music and country humor have enjoyed having the great stars entertain them. I'm Mrs. Henry Cannon, probably better known to most of you as Minnie Pearl. Come along with us now while we show you some of the sights and sounds that make up our unique town. A wonderful place to visit, a city that loves company. Nashville, Tennessee, Music City, USA. Nashville is quite a city now, but it still has that small-town, friendly spirit about it. The older buildings on the Nashville skyline stand as silent reminders of time past. but it was some of our forefathers who made the history.
A long time ago, there was a man who walked these lush grounds. A tall man with snow-white hair and a will of iron. A man of action. When he wasn't in Washington or in some distant battlefield, he returned here to his home in Tennessee, to the Hermitage. Andrew Jackson, lawyer, judge, congressman, U.S. senator, major general, hero of the Battle of 1812, and the 7th President of the United States. Quite a list.
He lived here at the Hermitage with his wife Rachel amidst the quiet green of Tennessee, where a man could be at peace and gather his thoughts. The Hermitage has long been a National Historic Landmark. The rooms of this fine antebellum home are to be seen today exactly as they were in Jackson's time. The same furniture, the same carpets, the same pictures, everything. The first settler in the Nashville area was Timothy de Mondrian. For 20 years, he and his wife lived in a cave on the banks of the Cumberland. On Christmas Day, 1779, the first group of settlers, led by James Robertson, crossed the frozen Cumberland River to build a log stockade on the west bank. They called it Fort Nashborough. Fort Nashborough was later renamed Nashville and became the capital of Tennessee. This Capitol building is my crowning achievement, my best work. Those were the words of William Strickland, who was also assistant architect of the White House. James K. Polk, 11th President of the United States, is buried on the Capitol grounds.
Next week, right before the Space STTI Nashville show, we'll show you more of that tape about the city of Nashville. A central issue at the Nashville show will be scrambling. The first company that said it had definite plans to scramble is HBO. The company that is manufacturing HBO's descramblers is Maycom. Bob Cooper tonight has the second part of a three-part conversation with Maycom's Jim Bunker.
Last week, we learned that while a significant quantity of cable-style descramblers are already in place at cable head-ends for HBO and Cinemax, the production ramp-up promised by Maycom for home-style descramblers is still just a little bit a ways away. Well, concurrent with the creation of the home-style descramblers is the matter of the Master Control Center computer, a system which will create individual messages to tell individual home-style TVROs descramblers to turn on and turn off upon command. There is no clear indication today who will operate, who will run, who will build, who will design this Master Control Center system. A number of big cable firms, such as ATC, have said they would be interested in doing this. An independent firm not affiliated with any cable company, Canaan Communications, has also registered their vote to do this. Maycom has said that they would like to operate this Master Control Center. And most recently, the National Cable Television Association, the trade association, cable's version of space, has said that they would like to operate this Master Control Computer Center. Here is Jim Bunker. He is our guest, and he's a senior vice president at Maycom. Here is Jim Bunker to comment on this whole scenario.
One of the key things is what John C. identifies as the National Authorization Center, a quote, nonprofit, to quote John C., unquote, company or group that manages the data, that manages the identification and authorization of individual subscribers. You have taken some initiative here at Maycom in that area. Can you explain what that initiative is? Because there's a lot of confusion as to what your role in this is.
It's very straightforward, Bob. We believe that all the programmers, the individual programmers, ought to have their own business computer systems and requirements for running their businesses. But a pay service like this with many programmers requires a central computer, a computer-controlled network where their signals get multiplexed together in a control channel to send out to the TVROs. The central control network or central control computer, which we've announced the availability of, somebody had to take a position that here is a free access control computer that authorizes and deauthorizes the paid television service to the subscribers. We thought it ought to be an independent third party, and MACOM, being the supplier of the hardware and software, is not completely independent, but we understand the technology. So we took the position that the software development is very critical to a pay service. So if we started the service, started this central computer, we're putting it in a MACOM facility in Long Island. Interesting about Long Island, there happens to be 13 uplinks in Long Island. So communicating with 13 of the channels is very simple and economical in Long Island. That system we've announced is available. It will handle, I believe, 239 transponders on any satellite. In the present installation that we're presently underway would handle 24 different business services, whether it be one channel or 10 channels as a business service. So this present central control computer would handle that kind of volume of programming. We have promised or committed to running it as a cost center. And let's say there are 10 businesses or 10 programmers utilizing it. We'd take the annual cost, which appears to be a little over $1 million a year of operating cost, and just divide the $1 million by 10, and each person wishing to use it would pay $100,000 of operating cost. And if the users in the future wanted to operate it differently or take it over or have it run by a Big 8 firm, fine. But at least the thing is off and running, and there is a central system that all the programmers can use, one decoder required by the American consumer, TVR owner, and it will be a start.
Well, as the man said, someone had to do it. And MACOM, being a good Boy Scout troop they are, they volunteered. But why couldn't that someone be a firm totally disassociated with the cable television industry? A firm such as Canaan Communications, the only independent that so far has raised their hand to volunteer to do this. Jim Bunker talks about Canaan. Is there room in this whole thing for someone independent, such as Canaan, to be a part of the National Authorization Center?
Oh, of course. The Canaan, or a Canaan, who packaged or bundled together a bunch of basics, or with a Ted Turner, or with a premium pay service, that comes to us and said, we want to use your National Control Center and run these 10 programmers through it to the home TVRO. That's the purpose of the control center, so to do that very thing.
He could do that at the same time some other group, maybe a competitor in the sense of selling package programming, was also doing it?
Also could do the same thing. The center will handle that.
Okay, I think that's a key point to make, that the center is not a monopolistic approach to it at all. It's just the opposite.
It has been referred to, in it's a little bit of a misnomer, as a free trade zone, but really open access to the programmers that wish to use it. And we are committed, both morally, contractually, and the corporate plan, to operate in that manner.
Well, if there's so much confusion about who is going to operate this most important master control computer center, what does that say about really getting any of this off the ground before 1985 is over, or even before a significant part of 1986 is passed?
If you get one or two of the superstations interested, a Disney, an ESPN, an MTV, to announce their plans to offer a service on this time, then that will trigger all the distribution channels to move forward, and I would expect at that time we will see a flood of orders. In the meantime, you may know, we are pushing ahead with the manufacture of cable descramblers and the uplink scrambling equipment for that eventuality. So that has to take place all in parallel with getting the consumer units ready. Mm-hmm. So that's why we're manufacturing both types of units now. The cable head-in units for these other programmers, is anticipating their releases and orders, and the consumer units. And it's a very complex item, as you know, as we've been chatting, but we're trying to bring that all together. Until it all comes together, there will not be a large economical viable business of a pay service to the American TVRO owners.
Well, so what is it really going to take to get the scrambling system operational?
It's going to take more programmers announcing and making this service available at the right prices with the consumer equipment before it comes together.
Well, if this scrambling confusion continues, and there is no sign it's not going to continue, why would a TVRO distributor or a TVRO dealer want to sign up, want to commit himself to order descramblers at this point in time? What's the incentive for a distributor at this point in time to commit to some quantity of the standalone descramblers?
I was going to say faith, and you got to believe. To those distributors and dealers who do commit, they obviously will be first in the marketplace, understanding it, understanding the servicing requirements, the features and characteristics of it. I don't intend or expect that we'll see large production orders until later on this summer, when more programmers have announced, more cable units are shipped, cable head ends descrambled, and that's why our production ramp of being in high quantity production in late '85 we think is realistic as a function of programmers, consumer units, and the availability of the control systems to run a scrambled network.
More than getting ready too early, there may be the question of profit. There is not very much profit built into the descrambler box itself. So little profit, in fact, that it's kind of hard to justify passing it first through a distributor and then through a dealer and finally to the consumer. So why commit now?
The distributor, at very best, if my math is even close, it looks to me like he's going to have about a 10% markup, probable. You know, if he buys at $325 and he's got to resell to the dealer in some place between that and the suggested retail, $395, correct? So there isn't the profit incentive there directly in the unit itself. It's got to come from some other packaging that you foresee.
I think for all of us, the dealer, the distributor, and the supplier like ourselves, the margins of profits on these standalone retrofit units, as we call them, is very slim and narrow. Like you say, maybe 10% each for the equipment supplier, the distributor, the dealer. However, that will generate added sales of the descrambling equipment, and we believe both for our own products and other manufacturers' products, it will generate retrofits and upgrades of receivers, outdoor electronics, stereo requirements, and it will also take the uncertainty of the scrambling and push forward with new TVRO sales with a receiver that we call the IRD, Integrated Receiver to Scrambler, and by that it will generate new businesses for the distributor-dealer chain, and yet there's not a large markup for any of us in the original retrofit units.
So in spite of the warnings, in spite of the threats, in spite of all the bad press, in truth, there really is not very much going to happen very soon. And Bunker explains how he sees it happening.
So the date certain time is really towards the end of 1985.
All right.
Because of the availability of the consumer units, not the availability or proven testing out of the network.
And that means that we have at least until next week to investigate this subject further. This is Bob Cooper. Good evening from the studios and the beach of West Indies Video in the Turks and Caicos Islands.
Coming up on Satellite Showtime, the Caltronics video newsletter with Joe Kelch.
The Luxor Mark II, a new generation of electronic excellence. The Mark II is a block satellite receiver system. It offers independent channel selection for multiple TV sets from a single antenna. In the home, for neighbors to share, in hotels, apartment, offices, and for licensed SMA TV redistribution to the entire community. The Mark II by Luxor does it all. You receive the best signal, the highest possible performance with Dolby high-fidelity sound. Other features include the individually programmed audio, AFC automatic fine-tuning controls, all on the 24 programmable channels. An infrared handheld remote will give complete control over the channel selection on any satellite. It's all so easy with Luxor Mark II. See it and then enjoy it. The Mark II does it all.
Good evening. Welcome once again to Video Newsletter brought to you by Caltronics each Tuesday evening at the same time. First of all, I'd like to remind you that Caltronics will be at Nashville in force at booths 414, 416, and 418, and 515, 517, and 519. Be sure to stop and say hello. We hope you all come to Nashville. Las Vegas is one of the sites of our 3 branch offices. The number's out there, 702-362-5816 if you're in Nevada, but outside it's 800-362-5816. At Boulder, Colorado, the office number 303-530-3422. And at Marietta, Georgia, 404-955-6682. Those are the numbers to call in that part of the country. Be sure you do call and let those people know what you want from Calltronics. Sales Manager Jim Atkinson of Calltronics and New Products. It's been a while since you've been on camera with us. We've been talking about Nashville on our other shows in the last few weeks about the booths, and maybe you got some details that we should have about Nashville, any products that will be there, and the sales line in general.
Sure, Joe. Well, I'd like to welcome all the dealers to the STTI Space Show, which is taking place September 2nd through the 4th. It should be probably the biggest show to date in the satellite industry. The units or the products we're going to have on display at the show, of course, will be our stainless steel antennas. That's the antenna made of number 304 stainless, very high quality, the name that built Calltronics. We're known for the stainless steel antennas. We are the only manufacturer that does carry the stainless steel line of antennas. And then also we'll have the Trans 10, the very popular mesh antenna that's been very well accepted because of the transparent design, the black color that seems to blend so well with the surrounding of the home environment. The new products we're going to have will be the Trans 6, this small mini mesh dish that will be available ready for shipment to the dealers on September 1st or within a week after the show, and that should be a very exciting product. And a new product we're going to have will be a medium range antenna. Between the 6-foot and the 10-foot antenna will be a Trans 8, very medium size for the applications in a good strong footprint area for the dealers that want something a little smaller than the 10, but where a 6-foot just is not quite big enough to cover those needs. And then a new product we've got that we've just recently got online with is a ribbon cable. It's not really so new. We've had this cable for a while, but now it is UL approved, which is very important in certain codes for certain city applications, and for the safety of the consumer. That's very important. What's unique about this cable, it has this great wraparound feature. I don't know if we can get a close-up on this or not. The way this wraps around, it makes it very easy for this cable to pass through the opening in the wall of the house. So it's very nice and easy to work with that way. And then also, at the dish, it's very easy for the installer to peel back the cable that he needs. For instance, what makes it UL approved, the power wires are separate from the sensor wires. So this meets the UL approval. They can rip this cable back or peel it back to the certain desired length. And then it is also sweep tested for the block systems. This will work for any block system up to the 1450 megahertz range. So this cable is the cable that will work very well for any system application, even for a 24-channel dual polarity system for block systems, because it does have 2 RG6 cables. A very excellent cable, and this cable is now available through Calltronics in quantities up to any number of feet that any dealer would want.
Several miles.
Several miles, Joe, yes. We have got a very good price on this. We've committed to 1 million feet of this cable at a time, so we've got excellent pricing on this cable, so we can offer this cable to distributors at a very good price. And if you'll note, it does say Calltronics on the cable.
Well, thank you, Jim. I know we could go into more detail on especially the Trans 6, but I think we'll have more time in a later show.
I think so, and it'll give the dealers a very good opportunity when they come to the show to examine the dish and talk with our sales reps about the antennas that we have available for them.
And on the floor, you'll be in booths for, let's see.
Yes, 16? I'm sorry, I should have mentioned that. Booth numbers will be 515 through 519 and 414 through 418.
That's 6 booths.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you very much, Jim Atkinson, Sales Manager, Qualtronics.
Looking forward to seeing everybody at the show in Nashville.
The Trans 10 by Qualtronics, quality, performance, and strength, and all at a highly competitive price. Engineered for maximum durability and reflective surface, also extremely easy to look at. Baked acrylic, thermoset black finish, low luster appeal. A parabolically formed hub, prime steel, and a solid 14.5 inches in diameter. Ribs of superior strength tubular 16-gauge steel encased in polytrans vinyl. Full half-inch unobstructed mesh retaining channels. The patented rib design assures maximum reflector signal and better retention of panels in high wind areas. UPS shippable anywhere in this country. The Trans 10 by Qualtronics. High performance and strength. Tested and approved to withstand wind velocities up to 90 miles an hour and approved for 2-degree spacing by the McDonnell Douglas Corporation. Yes, the Trans 10 with a limited 5-year warranty is your best buy of all mesh antennas on the market. The Trans 10, the antenna for every season. Just a reminder to have you call this evening. The number is 800-826-CALL, K-A-U-L. In Wisconsin, 1-800-826-NOVA. Be sure you call. And now we'd like to introduce Craig Howard of Chaparral. Craig stopped in as a visiting fireman today. We're happy to have him aboard for this interview. Craig, you're sales manager for Chaparral, and your territory is humongous.
It's huge. It covers the north. Well, we call it the Northeast Quarter. It's kind of a misnomer because it actually is from Wisconsin to Maine, down to Kentucky, and up to Quebec. So, and I go to all the trade shows on top of that. So
even
it actually is
the smaller trade shows.
Yeah, I just came from Reno. I was covering for a friend there, and it covers just a tremendous area.
Okay. Now, in your travels, and I realize that it's very difficult to put your finger on the pulse completely, but what are you finding about the industry now, sales-wise and technical-wise?
Well, in this particular territory, things have just been going incredibly well for the last month and a half. People spoke of a general slump during late spring, and things have just picked up. I'm getting so many calls about orders being behind and people need help, and can you come talk to us, and lots of things are going on, and everyone I've seen in the territory have spoken about the general upturn, though some people have talked about it much more than others. Apparently things at Qualtronics are doing very well.
You bet they are. We've had a tremendous summer with good things in the offing, and I think the industry is going to feel and is feeling the tremendous upsurge.
Yeah.
How about the industry trends that you have seen for Chaparral itself? What is coming up?
Well, technology-wise, things are moving. We've had the polar amp, which has been a big push for us, and that's been doing very well. We're looking for Nashville to be a big time for expansion technology-wise, not just with us, but with many companies. There's going to be a lot introduced in Nashville. 12 gig, I think, is going to turn out to be so it's going to take a lot of people by surprise. People aren't expecting it, but with NBC going to a lot of feeds on 12 gig, I think you're going to find a lot of people calling for 12 gig simply because of the sports. A lot of people are going to say, where did my football go? And that's where it went. So
will that require that they would have a separate dish, or would they just...
No, there's actually a feed horn that can be bolted onto the existing 4 gig feed horn. Chaparral's manufacturing one. It's called the Retrofit, and that's coming out at the Nashville show once again. And it's actually a 12 gig pole rotor, and there's a couple companies that are manufacturing right now, but that technology is available. There's only a few receivers now that are 12 gig capable, but your dishes will pretty much remain the same. There are size limitations and mesh limitations, but it's very much the same system.
People have been reading and for some years about the onset of, and the hoped-for onset of smaller dishes and smaller dishes. Is this the preliminary stage to that?
12 gig is, if they had their own dish, it would only need to be, say, 3.5 feet. But if you are going to be using it in combination with 4 gig, you need a larger dish, obviously.
Yes.
There is a trend right now there are a lot of 6-foot dishes around. Personally, that's what I have at home. But people are talking about 4.5-foot dishes. The feasibility of which, I mean, that's coming around, but when it's in the future. But it's leading towards that. People are thinking a lot about the smaller dishes.
You bet they are.
makes sense.
You bet. Okay, you've told us about your Chaparral products and the industry products, and what are you projecting for next year?
Oh, business is going to be great. It's just going to boom. They predicted a lot of climb during this year, and it has. It's been climbing at a phenomenal rate. Things are doing very well.
Great.
We see this becoming basically a cash and carry market. Early 1986, there's no reason that I can see that it wouldn't be something where it's just a very simple installation and essentially maintenance free. So that's what it's going towards, is very much the home market and problem free.
Good luck to you, Craig.
Thank you.
Thanks for stopping by. Craig Howard, Chaparral.
Thank you.
Reminder that the sales staff is standing by. We want you to call the numbers on the screen. 1-800-826-CALL, K-A-U-L, and 1-800-826-NOVA, N-O-V-A. NOVA for Wisconsin, call for the rest of the USA. And that's it for this evening on the video newsletter by Calltronics. Good evening.
Thanks, Joe. The conclusion of Satellite Showtime right after this.
Are you confused about satellite programming guides? Are you tired of monthly inaccurate guides that are big and bulky and about as much fun to use as a city phone book? How about tabloids with hard-to-read print, incomplete movie listings that are about as easy to use as a roadmap? Or newspaper guides with confusing grids that fall apart in your hands? There is an alternative. Onset, the easy-to-read, easy-to-use weekly programming guide with more movies and sports. Best of all, Onset is only $39. That's right, 52 issues for only $39. But don't take our word for it. We'll send you a free copy of Onset, and you can judge for yourself. And if you're a dealer, ask about our dealer program. Make your customers happy and make money. Call Onset now. Toll free 1-800-438-2020 or write Onset, Box 2347, Shelby, North Carolina, 28150. Onset, you've seen the rest, now try the best.
Want to know more about satellite TV? Then go to the source for product reviews and how-tos. We're on the road and out in space, and sometimes in very cold places, with features and technical reports. It's all in satellite TV. That's only $19.95 for 12 big issues of STV magazine. Call now, 1-800-438-2020, and get this LCD calendar clock free with your subscription. That's 12 big issues of STV magazine and the clock for only $19.95. The number again is 1-800-438-2020. 1-800-438-2020. Call now.
That's all for this evening's Satellite Showtime, brought to you by our fine corporate sponsors, including Luxor North America and Calltronics Incorporated. Next week, we'll show you more of Nashville, Tennessee, the site of the next Space STTI show this year. That's only 2 weeks away. It's actually less than that. Scrambling will be a topic of the show, and next week Bob Cooper will continue his talk with Jim Bunker of Maycom, the company that's manufacturing HBO's descramblers. Plus, you'll see another segment from technician Mike Gustafson. That's next week on Satellite Showtime. Tonight, the news and information continue, however, on several other satellites. You can listen to Keith LaMonica's FM America program on Comstar D4 Transponder 20, SpaceNet 1 Transponder 18, or Telstar 303 Transponder 18. Keith also has his own video program. It's brand new and comes on Sunday nights at 7 o'clock Eastern on the satellites and channels I just mentioned. And don't forget, on Thursday nights you can watch another program about the home satellite industry. It's called Boresight, and it comes at 9 p.m. Eastern, Thursdays, on Satcom 4 Transponder 20. That's all for this evening's Satellite Showtime. Until next week, Good night.